The whole system runs on gangs. This guy comes up to me and he goes, "Who do you run with?" I said, "I don't want to be in a gang." He said, "You haven't got an option. You've got to be in a gang." Hi, I'm Riordan Maynard and I'm back.
We've never had anyone on twice.
Is that true? That makes me feel quite good. Thank you very much. I stumbled across this room, which is like heaven. It's a music room. They said, we call it the room.
And you went in there and played the piano.
Yeah, I'm in there merrily playing the piano. I was offered to become the European cocaine king. They're bloody good business people. They've got marketing, the sales. Just for the record, I'm not doing.
You're not doing that.
One of the things I got on email was, heard the podcast. Why haven't you mentioned us? We took you in like a small boy. Wherever you are, this is your mention. Leave me alone. For you to give me the opportunity to come and sort of tell my side of the story is very much appreciated. I think the real punishment in this scenario is not on me, it's on the family. You can never be there if they need you.
Do you think there's anything that you would like to say to your family that you've never said? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Great Company. Okay, really exciting today because we have someone on for a second time. His name is Riordan Maynard. If you saw the first episode, you know exactly who Riordan is. Riordan went to prison in America, in the high security prison for 6 years for something he massively regrets and he's very sorry for. It's for tax evasion. But his story is far bigger and amazing than that. He told us in the first episode his experience in prison, and it went down such a storm with so many of you that we promised we'd do a part 2. So today is all about part 2. We talk more about being in prison. We talk more about what he said to his family, and we talk about his mindset coming out of prison, what it's like now. It's just insane and it totally blows my mind. I really hope you enjoy the episode. So many of you watch this and so many of you love it. If you could possibly just click that subscribe button, I cannot tell you how much it does for us. It does so much for us. It means we can keep getting amazing guests and keep putting on amazing shows like this for you guys. So if you can click that button, it will do so much for us. Okay, here we go. Enjoy this episode of Riordan Maynard, part 2.
In my third prison, I'd been there like 2 or 3 months. And there's nothing to do in prison, basically. You can read, think, eat, exercise. That's about it. Mm-hmm. And sleep. And so it's bloody boring. Anyway, I'm in this prison like for 6-8 weeks, and people in my group, my gang are helping me out, telling me what's going on. And I stumble across this room, which is like heaven. It's a music room.
What do you mean you stumble across it?
I'm walking around the yard and there's this door and I open the door and there's this glorious music room with a piano, drums, guitars. I think, why the hell hasn't anyone told me about this music room? I mean, maybe they don't know that I like music, but you would think that someone would say, oh, we've got a gym. And by the way, we've got this fucking amazing music room. You know, this is like you're living in a place which is so... It's barren. There's nothing. And then there's this glorious music room. So I go in the music room, fiddle about on the piano and stuff, think nothing of it. And I went back to the unit and I said, I found a music room. Why hasn't anyone told me about the music room? And they all looked at each other and they said, you don't want to go in the music room. I said, why don't I want to go in the music room? They said, we call it the bang bang room. Basically, everyone goes there to shag. And so it's basically the equivalent of going to a dogging site in the UK. And, you know, you're basically asking for it.
And you went in there and played the piano.
Yeah, I'm in there merrily playing the piano. Everyone's in there and looking very keen. I thought they liked my piano.
Did you ever form any close relationships when you were in prison?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some lovely people in prison.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, and I think I said this last time, it's basically like normal life. You get lovely people and then you get awful people and people in the middle. But yeah, I really
Who did you like the most? What sort of groups of people did you like the most? Were there anyone?
Oh, there's no question the Italians were the absolute joy. They were...
Are they the mafia, would you say? Or no? God.
They would never say that. And I would definitely never say that. I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. Because you don't really ask people questions about their day jobs when you're in prison.
Do you not?
Never.
Do you ask them what they're in for?
You're not meant to. The only thing they ask you about is, and this is every prison you go, when you get there, that you have to prove that you're not a paedophile or a snitch.
How do you prove that?
You have to get your papers from your lawyers on your sentencing, the transcript of your sentencing hearing. Because in your sentencing hearing, the judge will always say whether you cooperated with the government or if you stiff someone in. You know, for instance, they were always trying to get me to blame my CFO for my situation. My lawyers were always saying, stiff them and you'll get a better sentence.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's their
thing.
Yeah, they always want you to blame someone else rather than take the blame. I mean, I made the fucking decisions. It's my fault. So, and also, how can you learn and develop if you don't take responsibility?
True, but it's very easy in that situation when your back is against the wall.
Tempted.
You're very tempted, I can imagine.
So they do push you quite hard to snitch and blame others. And anyway, so when you get to the prison, that's what they're interested in. And so you have to show them your transcript, and the transcript says, he cooperated, or this is the crimes that he's committed. And then as long as you're not one of them, you basically don't talk about why people are in. It's your business. And no one really judges you based on it either.
Who are you showing your papers to everyone?
Oh, no, to your gang, the leader of your group. Yeah, they're vetting you basically. It's because they're letting you into their group. It's like saying, give me your CV. I'm going to, I want to see where you've been and what you've done.
What?
And so some people, when they get there, they lie. I mean, this is coming. The transcript's coming. So you're better off just getting it out at the front end if you're one of them. But some don't. They make out that they're not. And then their transcripts don't turn up. Anyway, they get seriously beaten if they, because they're part of the group. And then if they transpire to be a snitch, then they get serious beating.
Is that the sort of repercussions as always beaten?
They also have you can be cast out. They have I can't remember what they call it. A lot of the organization you can see at the in the dining hall, because everyone sits together. There's groups. You have the whites, and then you have different race groups, and you're not allowed to sit outside of your group. And there is a group that is not a group, which is basically a bunch of cast-offs who have upset someone or done something wrong or haven't conformed, or there's something that they've done that means that they've been sent into the wilderness, and then they get no protection either. So they're like, so
they're like a sitting duck.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's like,
that is freaking fascinating.
Yeah.
Just how do you become the leader of a group? I
actually don't know how that happens. I didn't see any of that, but there's obviously, like any natural hierarchy.
There's a system, right?
Oh yeah, it's there's structure. I think it's based on. It is based on strength, respect, fear, the normal sorts of things for a natural hierarchy to occur.
Why did you like the Italians so much?
Well, they are incredibly good fun. I mean, they have a great time. They're basically, I think, and this is just my conjecture, because basically I'm in the whites, and a subsection of the whites are the Italians.
Okay.
Because they are their own group. But because obviously there's not that many of them, although they do have a lot of power in the prisons, they sort of ally with the whites, so they're a bigger.
So they're a bigger
you're
group.
a bigger group. You're
Got
a bigger
it.
group in the scheme of things, and so they're slightly separate. They have their own table and stuff at the dining hall, and I always saw them. When I come down for breakfast, they're always having a great time. They're like a family, and I know you see all the. They are basically it is a family sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just like you see in the films. I mean, they are just like if you see them mucking about in Goodfellas. I hope they don't come and hunt me down now. if you're listening, I know they're listening because they wrote to me. I forgot to tell you, they wrote to me after the last podcast.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm glad I remembered that.
Are you serious?
After one of the things I got from email on email was the title was, "Oi, you fucking wanker. What's up?" Because they love the word wanker in America. It absolutely, it's their. It must be because of Guy Ritchie. Because in all his movies, Jason Statham is always wanker.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they love that. So it said, "Oi, you fucking wanker, what's up?" And then there's this lovely email from one of the guys. Heard the podcast. "Why haven't you mentioned us? We took you in like a small boy. We looked after you."
Are you serious?
Yeah. So anyway, now I am. Wherever you are, this is your mention. Leave me alone. No. So I totally forgot. But anyway, they are. I would say they are wonderful people. I don't know what they do in the day, and I can't judge anything about that. But as people in that environment, they were spectacular to me. They took me in totally. I'm sitting with them every day. They taught me how to lift weights. I'd never done weights before I went to prison. And, they showed me, I was part of their weights group.
Do you make friends with people, or is it complicated to make friends with people because of the environment that you're in?
Some people do make very good friends. I wasn't keen to make friends, really.
So you kept yourself...
to be honest, as a human, I'm not very good at friends. I'm not
I would
great.
disagree.
Oh, thanks very much.
I think you're good at being friends.
That must be the new version of me. The previous version, that's probably the wrong way to say what I'm trying to say, which is that I was like you. I didn't pay enough attention to friendship and relationships. I was too busy, too self-important, didn't need it. But from a prison perspective, it's a difficult balance because I met lovely people in there who were very supportive of me and helped me a lot. But also, I don't really want that to be my life.
I totally get it.
It isn't my life.
No.
It's a moment in my life which has happened, and I got huge benefit from it, and lots of challenges from it. But I don't want to be defined by it.
No, and I don't think you are.
Yeah, and that's good because I love talk. I don't have any issue talking about it at all, and I find it amusing as well. It's almost like I didn't do it. It's like someone else is doing it. But I don't want that to be my thing necessarily.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I completely hear what you're saying, but it must be quite tricky, and I want to talk about other things as well, but I'm just going to focus on this for a second. It must be quite tricky as well, right? Because talking about what happened inside must be quite hard because there are people involved, so you can't really say things and all that, those kind of things. But also, I remember we had a conversation and you said that I would have, or individuals have no idea how much of goes on in the underworld, how much business is happening in the world of crime.
Yeah.
And you said it's probably the same amount as What's happening above board?
I think it might be. I mean, that's a completely uneducated
Sure.
statement. Someone would know what the criminal world equates to in the context of the normal economy. But the money is just eye-watering.
When you're in prison, because basically it's, when you go to school or university, or you're making connections. Was there any other points, I don't know how much you can say, was there any other points that you were offered deals or business things or any opportunities that people said, oh, we can make this happen or that happen or make this, do this? Or
All
that?
the time.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, people would ask me for my advice because obviously I've come from a business background.
Yeah.
So there was lots of people who genuinely wanted advice about, because one of the great challenges for convicts is getting a job. Not whether they're capable or not, or whether they want to, change and become law-abiding, but the actual process of getting a job is virtually impossible because you have a criminal record. And especially in America, they do everything possible to really fuck you for life. I mean, properly.
In what ways?
Well, you have a criminal record. What they put on the internet is bordering on slander, the way that they publicize their court wins. And then the general, I suppose, PR that surrounds people who've been in prison means that it's virtually impossible to get a job. So everyone wants to start their own business if you're in prison. I mean, everyone wants to start
Literally
their own
everyone.
business. Yeah, because they know when they leave, they've got two options: start your own business or go back to what you were doing that got you in there.
Wow.
So that a lot of people asked for advice. I mean, I was obviously very happy to help wherever I could with people with their planning and what they wanted to try and achieve. And I did a lot of this mind fought stuff in prison with prisoners, and that was very, very, it proved to be very successful. And so that's but on the other side, you get all sorts of offers. I mean, I was offered to become the European cocaine king, which on the face of it sounds quite interesting, but I just don't want to go back in. I've got nothing against cocaine, but I just don't want to go back in. I'm not going back. So I must have met, I don't know what the cocaine business is worth, but I met some serious cocaine people for Canada and from Colombia and Mexico.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. And so I offered that. And then
what do they expect? You don't have to say who it is, but what do they offer? What do they say?
They want routes into the market, basically, I guess. I mean, it's like what's interesting about crime is it's like any business.
Yeah.
These people, I said to a lot of them, why don't you just switch off the criminal element, apply your skills, because they're bloody good business people. They're seriously impressive. They got, they understand distribution, pricing, competition. They know how to deal with competition big time. They've got marketing. They are the sales. They get procurement. They get all the bits. They're entrepreneurs.
They're good at recruiting.
Yeah. And so I often said to them, in all seriousness, not that criminal element on the head, apply everything you know to this bit and you'll be off. But yeah, so they offer me the ability to buy their product basically and distribute it, which I, just for the record, I'm not doing.
You're not doing that.
Not interested. I am. I've learnt my lesson. So from that perspective, the justice system does work. I'm definitely not going back. But and then there's just tons of money. One person offered me $100 million to invest in businesses. Yeah, because they just have so much cash. I mean, so much cash. They don't. I mean, they've got to clean the. I mean, I don't know. This is me speculating. I don't know how it all works. I didn't ask any questions about their world. It's not my world. But yeah, I got tons of offers.
One of our listeners, we had so many messages. Anna has written in to ask. She said, "What has it been like returning to non-prison life and the UK? Did you have to start from zero?"
Well, it's been spectacular, amazing, just being out of prison, obviously. I am starting from zero in terms of my own situation. Well, that's not quite fair because obviously I've got my family. But where I've been incredibly fortunate is one of my friends, the day I got out, said, come and help me with my businesses. And that's been just a remarkable gift because the process of arrest, trial, well, the process of business failure to start with, without all the criminal stuff, is quite gutting for someone like me. Because, you know, I've got an ego, I've got fear of failure, I've got all the stuff
everyone has.
the checklist for anyone who started a business. And so failing is horrible. If you fail very publicly, very obviously, then it's pretty crushing. So that in its own right affects your confidence. You start to think you're pretty shit. And then you add on to it the arrest, which is slightly traumatic. Then you add on to it the trial, which is like, I told you this last time, is like a sort of tsunami of hate against you. I mean, it's like, that's the worst bit. And then you add on the prison. Anyway, so my confidence completely wiped out. So my friend giving me this opportunity to help him, that's really good for my self-confidence. So I'm answering the question about whether I started from zero. I did in theory, but I'm a very lucky guy. I've got lovely people who have supported me. I mean, amazing whilst I was away. So many people supported me. You know, just making an effort. It's not easy writing to people in prison. First, you have to get paper. No one's liking that anymore. And a pen and a stamp. And they don't make it easy for you to get it to me. And lots of people have made an effort, but specifically being back now, I have lots of opportunities, and I'm very busy, and I'm doing lots of work with individuals on the Mind Fort thing, and with companies as well.
Did any of your friends cut you off completely?
No, I don't think anyone has.
Shows kind of what a person you are, then, I would say.
I really hope so. I mean, I think everyone is of the opinion that I'm an idiot, including myself. They are also of the opinion that the judge is completely mental. For the sentence is lunacy. And I think most people just, they're not accepting of what happened so much as they think, okay, that's a bit of a hard hit you've taken and you've dealt with it well, and now you've got to get on. And I think that's how it should be. You know, really, you should have a second chance if you've fucked up.
You believe in second chances?
I think you have to, don't you?
I
always have. I mean, in Touchbase, we used to employ people who'd fucked up.
This is your business?
Yeah. And we employed one chap who'd been to prison.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, because I do think you've got to, otherwise, how does it work? How does this sort of principle of forgiveness and, when you learn, how can you learn? Because I don't think you can actually progress without the failure.
I don't think you can either.
I think you've got to experience it and then move on from it, which is why I think it's been very good for me.
Another listener, Greenie, says, ask about your emotions that you've experienced outside of prison. Did transitioning back to life outside also bring anxiety? Because I imagine there must be some PTSD with it, right?
Yeah, I think there is.
What do you mean you think?
I've got this weird thing where it's almost as if it didn't happen. And I wonder if that's how you cope with it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get PTSD, no question. When I hear a bell, that's like, movement. No, seriously, that's true. Oh, we better get moving. We've only got 10 minutes. I told you last time I'm much more emotional. I mean, I'll be walking along, I was walking along Bond Street, and suddenly I start thinking about Tara and the children. I start welling up. I mean, it's so alien to me because I'm so excited about them coming.
What is it you think about them when that makes you well up?
Being together, as a family. And to your earlier point, that must be based on the fact that I now know what it's like not to be, because we were always together before and I never appreciated it. But then when you can't have it, you appreciate it.
So in some ways, it's some sort of gift to know what it's not like.
Oh, that's one of the biggest benefits of prison, is appreciation. In fact, one of the things I think we should do as an absolute discipline daily is work out what's brilliant about our life and recognize it. Either, people talk about gratitude.
Yeah.
I do think that's quite magical, gratitude.
I do it all the time now, every morning, every night.
Yeah. Because we spend a lot of our life worrying about what's shit about it. And of course, you do need to recognize the bits you want to change and things that are not quite going where you want them to go, which is why you need this, to define where you're going and how you're going to get there. But also there's almost always good bits that we can zero in on and enjoy. And just that very act of recognizing them and appreciating them makes you feel better.
You were in prison for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
What changed from the moment that you went in to when you came out? There's an amazing moment, and I go back to Shawshank Redemption, which I love. I watched the other day.
I do like that film.
Although,
talking of PTSD, I'm struggling to watch any prison-related content currently.
But in Shawshank, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but there's a moment when one of the old prisoners gets released. He's been there for most of his life. And he says, when I came out, when I was a boy, before I went in, I saw one motor car. Now I came out and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget that you go into a place where the world is this, and then when you come out, the world is different.
Yeah.
So what was different?
Well, I think mine wasn't as accentuated as that. There are people in there who are in there for 30 odd years. You can't imagine. Well, they can't even get back to life, I don't think. But in my case, the biggest thing I noticed, and bear in mind, I was in the mobile business, in the communications business. So I'm into phones and I'm into technology and stuff. But the biggest thing I noticed was how the human race has basically been taken over by the screen. That was the biggest change. Because obviously before I went in, I wasn't in 20 years. I mean, we had iPhones and we had iPads and people were using their phones. But nothing like when I got released from my last prison, before they then put me in another one, which I wasn't expecting, I was allowed to travel from Pennsylvania to Denver on the train on my own. And so they literally let me go.
How weird.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
To move across country. It's called self-surrender or something. And so for just 20 hours, I was free, completely free. It was amazing. But the thing
Was that amazing?
Yeah, that was amazing. It was odd. But the thing I noticed the most was people on their phones and adults, not children, but like with this phone.
Just scrolling through their phone.
For hours, sitting on the train like that. And I mean, it's no news to anyone because we all know it's happened. But that was a big one. And then the other thing was the cost of everything. Because I started business. Well, I started working in about 87, started my own business in about 92, or Touchbase in 92. We had that little mobile phone place before that. And in 92, there was a big recession, proper recession. But since then, we haven't really had inflation. We've had crashes, financial crashes, but not inflation. And that was one of the biggest things I noticed was the cost of everything. I went to get a Starbucks and, I love coffee. And one of the things I dreamed about in prison was having a coffee because they have the worst coffee you can possibly imagine. And I love coffee. And so I dreamt for 5 odd years about having a coffee. So I went to Starbucks. And when you leave for your trip, they give you $20 to fund, bits and bobs. And so I went to Starbucks, ordered my regular, which is strong.
Was that a weird moment?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the whole thing was freakish. And I looked like a tramp. I mean, I looked proper hobo because I'm wearing like these. When you leave prison, they give you these jeans, but they're not jeans. They're like tracksuit bottoms that look like jeans. Anyway, you look awful. You got this terrible T-shirt on. I look like I had a string bag with all my possessions in, and my hair is just down to like a 1 razor cut, like a skinhead. And but anyway, I ordered the coffee. It was $10 for the coffee. $10.
Half your money.
Yeah. And then consequently, I noticed how expensive everything had become. And then the other thing on the flip side of that I've noticed is how much money there is around. Now, I know that's a silly thing to say because there's a lot of poverty, but at the top end.
So much.
Yeah. And I was brought up in the 80s. My working life started in the 80s with, Greed is Good, Gordon Gekko, Wall Street, and that was I loved it. I loved that. That's why I got into business. And they at that time, they said it was the time of excess, but this is nothing like this. I mean, this is extraordinary.
We've had an email from a prison officer from Felton Prison. They said, has Riordan written a book about his experience? I'd love to share it with the prisoners I work with. Have you written a book? If not, would you?
I have basically written a book, yeah.
But it's not been published?
No, it's in my handwriting. I wrote it while I was in prison. I wrote 3 books. One which was based around this program, this Mind Fort program.
Wow.
Second one is called, it's a bit of a popular title currently, but 50 Rules. But it's basically 50 rules that I want to live by, which ties in with all the beliefs stuff. And then the third one is like a business system to.
You should get these published. I mean, it's amazing that an officer.
I just thought it was a bit cliched.
It's not cliche. I don't think
man goes to prison, man writes book.
I don't think it is, especially if it's helping.
I might do. My big thing, I'm going to plug myself now.
Do it.
Yeah, is this Mind Fort.
Which I've been doing and is incredible.
Yeah. I'm absolutely passionate about it.
We're going to
mindfort.ca.
I'm going to put the link in the show description so people can click it. I think it's amazing. Describe to me quickly what a normal day in prison is like, because I want to understand your mindset now.
Well, you get up. I'll talk for myself. It's pretty similar for everyone, but I would wake up at 4:30 and do some sort of yoga-ish type movements. Mobility stuff, and then they call you for breakfast at about 5, and it's like anytime food is involved, I always felt like I was at a farm because it is just like watching animals. And I'm one of them. I mean, I'm not calling everyone else. We are basically animals because the gate's closed, the door's closed to the unit until they open it and let you go to eat. And everyone's lining up, pushing to get the food's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. Anyway, so they open. You go and have your...
Does people run?
Yeah, people are running. They're trying to get to... Which sort of makes sense because then you don't have to line up. But they are running down the corridor trying to get to the food. And it's not very good food, let me tell you. Really bad, the food. Actually, it was quite good in one prison. One was inedible.
Not inedible.
No, listen to me. One, we had to go on hunger strike 3 times because one of the guys in the kitchen found the meat packaging and it said not for human consumption on it. And I'm not fucking lying. That is true. Not for, this is a private prison for profit. Not for human consumption. Anyway, I was in that prison. I mean, it's mental, isn't it? I'm in that prison. Can't eat the food. The food is absolutely offensive. I ate packets of fish. I'm not lying. Packets of fish, peanuts, and Milky Ways for nearly 2 years. That's all I ate. I was like Christian Bale in The Machinist. I'm like,
So you have your food, and then what happens after that?
I would always go to exercise after that.
And you have how long to exercise?
Well, the way that the day is structured usually is you have these things called movements. So every hour you can move for 10 minutes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the bell and then you can move anywhere you like, but only for 10 minutes. And then you're in the place you're in. So let's say you go to the gym, you have to stay there until the next movement.
What?
Yeah.
It's like some sort of game.
I've never thought of it like that, but yeah.
It is. It's like, and then you're in that position for how long? In that place for how long?
Up until the next movement, which is an hour, basically.
So you have 10 minutes to get to the place that you want to.
That's it.
So if you're in the bathrooms, you're stuck in the bathrooms? No.
Well, you have the bathrooms in the units.
In the units, so you're fine.
And then, so you have these movements and then they count you all the time. So then about 6 times a day, you have to go back to your unit at a specific time, and then they count you. You have to stand by your bunk.
In case anyone's escaped.
Yeah, they're paranoid about people.
But no one escapes.
I don't. Well, you do see the odd one, don't you, on the news?
Yeah.
It's quite unusual. I mean, certainly I didn't see any evidence of people even trying to escape. Although I would say it probably happens more with people who've got much longer sentences. Because if you've got a short sentence,
yeah, you don't do it.
You wouldn't do it because you get automatically 10 years.
And so then you're stuck in that place. Then you wait for the next bell. Then it's lunch, and so and then anything else happens in the day. You don't. Nothing else.
Nothing else.
The boredom.
It's so boring.
The repetition.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's it's the same day every day.
Because that brings me on to, the last time we spoke, you told me how hard the first few months were.
Yeah.
You said you were depressed. You didn't know how you were going to continue on, and it was a pretty low moment. But then you changed your mindset.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing. And having spent time with you, and for a lot of the listeners, you may not know, but Riordan and I, you've been coaching me.
Yeah.
The last few weeks, and
lucky you.
Very lucky me. You haven't charged me yet. That's the only thing. I'm still conscious of that.
You said just a crew, so I'll just.
You said
I'll just send you a big bill.
But the reason why I did that after our conversation, and we hadn't met up before our conversation, that was sort of the first time we had met in person, and then after having our conversation, I think your mindset is pretty spectacular, where you have shifted your way of thinking. And you've taught me in certain ways how to do that as well. And I realize now in my life I've been doing that. So my question to you is, how did you shift your mindset from being that depressed, anxious self in prison with no hope to then thinking, right, I need to change this?
The decision to change it basically came from a binary. It's a binary situation of, am I going to top myself or am I going to get my shit together?
Those were 2 options.
Yeah, basically.
So the 2 options were you were going to take your own life or you were going to change your mind.
Yeah, sort myself out. And so,
oh my God,
they often say, don't they? They often say you've got to get to the bottom before you can
get back out.
Yeah. And so I think, I also said last time when we spoke, it was very unusual for me to feel like that. In my life, I hadn't felt like that before because I'd always had a lot of control over things. and where I was going and what I was doing, and I was very optimistic and motivated. And so for the first time, I completely lost sight of any version of a compelling future, of a reason for being. And that's really that was what I discovered, is that having decided, right, I better get my act together because I've got 5 lovely children, I've got an amazing wife, I'm going to come out of here in 5 years or 6 years' time. What do I want to be when I come out? And that really started to motivate me, because I then started to think, well, actually, this could be a gift, because I've got all this time to achieve things, whatever those things are. So then I thought, okay, what do I want my life to look like? And that started me thinking about my future in a positive way, not a negative way, but started to think, okay, well, actually, if I take what I've done so far, work out the bits I like, and work out what I want to be, then turn that into some sort of view of a future. I call it a compelling future. I must have taken that from somewhere. Nothing I say has come from me. It's all just
but anything we say from anything comes from somewhere, right?
A compelling future, and then I define that. I sort of know what I want to be, where I'm going, and as soon as I'd done that, that things started to change. Everything I think about the thinking is in the context of that.
So break that down for me quickly, because I think a lot of us and a lot of people listening, we don't really know what we want our lives to be like.
Agreed.
So then how do we define our life if we don't really know what we want?
Well, I think that's the basis of a lot of the trouble in modern life. We don't know. And there's no certainty in us because we don't know. We're sort of just stumbling through life, being told what we should like, being told what to do by all these influences that we have on us, either technical or human. There's no sort of defining version of your future. And that means you've got nothing to anchor your thinking on, or your emotions, or the way you process stuff, or your beliefs, or...
Because we're just floating.
Yeah, because you have no direction. You're existing, but you don't have a North Star. I call it like a North Star that pulls you, that you think, okay, well, one of mine is I want to be an amazing father and an amazing husband, because I know historically, in my view, I haven't been. So that if you said, okay, what does your future look like? My future looks like me being my version of an amazing father. And I've got that all, I know what that means to me.
What does that mean to you?
Well, being present, which is tricky because they live in America. So at this stage, not doing so well on that one.
But being present.
Yeah, being obviously supportive, loving, non-judgmental, which is a big problem for me.
Why? Because you are judgmental?
I'm very judgmental, yeah. Generally.
Are you?
Yeah.
In what way?
I just have very strong opinions about things. and they're not necessarily right.
Yeah.
Well, as most with most people, they're not necessarily right, but they are strong.
They are.
So I'm really trying to, like Monty, my oldest, he's amazing. And he's a very spiritual chap. And he looks like Robert Plant out of Led Zeppelin. He's very attractive. And he's got long hair. He's got this beard, like Guy Fawkes. Mm-hmm. And
like Guy Fawkes. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he looks amazing. But to me, I'm like, get your fucking hair cut, sort the beard out, get a job. I'm just like, and he's like, what does he say to me? Anyway, he's got the most wonderful sayings. He's very laid back and take it easy, man.
And you don't have to be judgmental. So you're stripping out any judgment towards.
I've got to stop. Why? Well, who am I to tell him that he needs his fucking haircut? I mean, he looks great. So anyway, sorry, Monty. I didn't want to single you out.
But that's amazing. I get what you mean.
What you asked me the question about being a father. Those are the types of things I'm really working on. Because let me be clear, I am not fixed. There's lots. I mean, we are all a work in progress, aren't we? But I'm on the right path because I know.
So you think that once you have that North Star, once you know your compelling future, then you can understand what you want to achieve in life. And then when you know where you want to get to in life, you can block all the other noise out.
Yeah, basically. I mean, once you've got that view of your future, I think you then need to sort of distill that down into the things you should really be focused on. I call them obsessions, things that you should really be obsessed with. So in my world, it would be my children. They should be an obsession for me, not in a negative way, because some people think the word obsession is a bit too strong. But that's, and another area I'm absolutely passionate about is my health and fitness, because I used to be, I couldn't care a toss about it, because I've been very lucky. I'm quite a fit guy anyway. I don't have, fortunately, I haven't had any issues and health issues. And so I've sort of taken that for granted. But what I did realize when I got to prison was if I don't make some conscious effort to sort my health out and my fitness, I'm going to come out decrepit. I mean, my youngest is 10. I'm not going to be able to run around the fields with him. I might not even be able to get up the stairs. I mean, you see some of these people in prison, they're finished.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because all you do all day is lie on your bed. That's it. That's your day. Imagine lying on your bed all day. That's it. There's nothing else to do.
Nothing else.
Yeah. So you're either, as I said earlier, exercising. Obviously, you're not lying on your bed then. Or you're thinking, reading. That's lying on the bed. You're eating. That doesn't take long. Or you're sleeping and you're on the bed. So you're you're horizontal like this. All your body wears away. When I came out, I had all my muscles are
gone.
Yeah. I mean, I'd worked them quite hard in prison, but you don't have that sort of natural movement that we get in our day.
Because there's not enough.
You're not moving.
You're not moving enough.
You probably don't do 500 steps a day.
When you're feeling depressed or anxious or in that sort of dark hole, it's very hard to see the light. It's very hard to get, especially if you've never experienced it before, which you hadn't. So I'm interested as how do you change that? How do you change the chapter? How do you force yourself to go, that is not my thinking here. I want to think this.
Well, perhaps you need someone to help you get there. I don't know. In your case, it just, as soon as I had defined this future, my vision of my future, everything changed.
Wow. Because you knew where you wanted to go. You knew everything that you wanted to do.
Yeah, and I could put my current situation in the context of that. And so then I started to have some certainty. And certainty is really what we all need, even if it's fake, because there is no such thing as certainty. Is there?
No.
Because we don't know what's going to happen this afternoon. We've got no idea. But if we have a view of where we're trying to get to and a view of what we need to get there, and we know what behaviors are required to implement that plan that's going to get you there, and we're doing the stuff necessary, we feel in control. And that gives us certainty. And that makes you feel like $1 billion. I feel like $1 billion all the time.
Do you feel great?
I can't explain why. Yeah, because my life's not brilliant. I'm penniless. I got my family in Denver. And, I'm sort of getting back on my feet. But I still feel remarkable every day. I mean, literally like someone's pumped me full of cocaine every day.
Do you know what's interesting is that you, in business, right? When you're running a business, the most important thing is to have a vision, to have a North Star, to know where you're going. And we do that. Every successful business knows what they're doing. If you look at the Googles or the Facebooks or the Apples of the world, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly their vision. They know exactly their mission statement.
Yeah.
in life, we don't do that for ourselves.
Right.
And what you're telling me here is that that's what we need to do. We need to have a mission statement. We need to have a compelling future. We need to know where we're going. And then that will bring us the sort of happiness and contentness and understanding of where we're going in life.
Yeah. As long as you change your behavior, because the principle, all the stuff I've just talked about is quite well known, that if you have this view of where you're going, if you have a good plan, if you have specific goals, it's well known that that helps you achieve. What the theories miss, I think, is how do you turn that into reality? Because you've got to change your behaviors. You've got to change the way that you think in order to become the person that can achieve the plan and reach this future that you've defined. And so, for instance, and this doesn't just apply, people think this just applies if you want to make more money or you want to be successful, as we define success. It isn't that. It's to do with anyone's life. It's to do with working out, well, I call it, you've got to learn to love the life you live. And that means that whatever you believe is important in your life, you've got to learn to love it. And that means defining what it is and creating the behaviors and the way of thinking about it that allows you to achieve what you want to achieve within it and love it. Whether that's your wife, or your partner, your husband, whatever it might be, or whether it's your children, or whether it's your work, or whatever it might be, you've got to learn to love it or get rid of it and do something else. Because what's the point otherwise? I just don't understand we're not here very long. And why would you spend 1 minute in that abyss that I was in when you don't need to? You just don't need to be in it. There's some steps you can take to fix it.
You are the first guest ever we've had on twice.
Is that true?
We've never had anyone on twice.
Oh, well, that makes me feel quite good. Thank you very much. I must actually thank you for putting me on the first time. It was very brave of you, I think, because it's quite a contentious subject.
Well, why? Why do you think it is?
Well, because I really fucked up, didn't I? And, some of my decisions were not great. And so for you to give me the opportunity to come and sort of tell my side of the story is very much appreciated.
There were two parts to our conversation that we had. One, which was about prison.
Yeah.
Well, there were three parts: prison, mental resilience, and family.
Yeah.
When we were talking about prison and mental resilience, you were very measured. And when it came to family, that's when you probably were a bit wobbly.
Yeah, understandably, yeah. I was, yeah.
We had a email in from your son, Gussie.
Oh my God, don't do that. Yeah. I don't need that. No,
Why?
No, I do need it, Gussie. But I'm not saying I don't need your email. Oh shit. What's he said?
Gussie said...
You're hijacking me or whatever the word is.
How old is Gussie?
18.
Okay, so Gussie said, I'm Gussie Maynard, Riordan's son. I would like the next time you're with him or next time he does the podcast, tell him you're a little wuss boy.
That is Gussie.
But tell him it's anonymous. Can't let his ego get too high now he's on a podcast. Thank you.
That is Gussie. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, he is. He's pretty direct.
Because I think the one thing, and I want to get into lots of different things, more about mental resilience, more about your time out of prison, and a bit more about prison. But the one thing is the whole experience was like for your family, and what it was like when all of that happened. Because from what you've told me, you don't have any contact with them when you're inside.
No.
So you do, but it's not. There's not a huge amount.
No, you're highly restricted. They issue you with a number of minutes per month.
Which are how many?
300. Actually, it's 150 minutes a month. But because of COVID, they doubled it. Because I was in during COVID, and so for 2.5 years, or however long that went on for, there was no visitation at all. Not that it was easy anyway, because I was miles away from the family, but there was no visitation. So I had 300 minutes, and so I could basically speak to Tara once a day for a few minutes, and then the children once a week, and that was it. And yeah, but there's no, they can't contact you, and so you can only contact them, and so you can never be there if they need you, ever, because unless there's a catastrophic event, in which case they can contact the prison can come and get you. You can't, so there's no contact at all. I mean, it's horrific on the family. I mean, I think I said last time, I think the real punishment in this scenario is not on me, it's on the family, because I get completely looked after by the state. I mean, everything I need is given to me, but they're left completely destitute with no support system, nothing. And it's especially accentuated if you live in a foreign country, because you don't even have your extended family around your family to support them. And so you sort of double whammy.
Mm. Because how does your relationship during that period change with your family, would you say? For most people who go to prison, would you think?
I think it decimates the relationship. For most people. I don't think it did in my case. Only because of Tara, because she didn't vilify me, and
Wow.
which is, you couldn't blame her if she did. And that meant that she kept the children engaged with me all the time. And so we managed through it. But it's very odd, because you become a distant, almost, you become a virtual part of their life, not a real, you're not in it in any way physically. And so it's quite odd. You become like a pen pal type. It's an odd relationship.
And it probably makes you realize how important family is.
Oh, yeah.
You realize that it's everything.
Basically, yeah.
Because when that's stripped from you, right, and you're just taken when you're left with yourself, and as you said, you only have the few things, you have your mind, the gym, all you think about is your family.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah, and well, that's true of everything. You start to appreciate everything.
What has been your relationship like with your family since getting out?
Oh, spectacular, I think. I mean, and progressing. So it's a bit odd when you get out and you interact. It's a bit odd. I've been away.
Describe it to me.
Well, it's like being a stranger with someone you know really well.
Yeah.
It's a really odd dynamic. And, there's a lot of angst, unspoken angst, because the events, they're so torturous mentally that there's lots of built up angst everywhere. And so you have to sort of you're almost going through the motions initially, and then you've got to see how it develops. And in this case, for me, it's been just remarkable. My relationship with Tara is amazing now.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. It is amazing, yeah. But that's, again, thanks to her, because she could quite easily, think, what a fucking arse. I mean, I'm not going to spend one more minute with this chap. And so it's mainly thanks to her, but it's remarkable. And with the children, really fantastic.
Do they ask questions?
Yeah, they do. But it's interesting with children. There's an age where they do, and then there's an age where they stop. I've noticed.
Really?
Yeah.
I would ask questions all the time. I do when I'm with you. I ask questions all the time.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, yeah. That's why you're rather good at your job. Yeah, they're always asking questions. But now it's sort of back to, it's relatively normal. I mean, I would think because of course we're separate. They're in America and I'm here. But they are coming next week for a few weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, which will be amazing.
I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
podcasting is a great time to kind of speak your mind, to say what you want, and for people to hear it and people to listen. Do you think there's anything that you would like to say to your family that you've never said?
Well, not that I'd never said, but I would like to say how much I love them, because I'm not very good at saying that. I find that quite hard to say for some reason. I don't really know why. And obviously I miss them very much, but I'm very excited about them coming. I'm very proud of them, and yeah. I see what you're trying to do.
Rin, you're amazing. You're incredible. Thank you so much for these 2 episodes. It's been fantastic, and I'm just very excited to see where all of this takes you.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna be enjoying the journey with you. I think it's great. I think what you've done, made mistakes and done your time and come out and trying to do things better for people and life and everything, I think it's pretty special. So thank you so much for coming on again and giving me your time. This has been amazing.
Thanks, Jamie.
Amazing!
Was it all right?
It was amazing! It was unbelievable!